It's Monday, 4 March. Welcome to the PDB Afternoon Bulletin. I'm Mike Baker, your eyes and ears on the world stage. Let's get briefed. First, as the security situation at the U.S. southern border continues to be chaotic, Tennessee has become the latest state to dispatch National Guard troops to reinforce local authorities amid the crisis. Also, we'll discuss the deteriorating situation in Haiti as armed gangs take control of the streets, most recently springing 4,000 inmates from the country's largest prison in a violent jailbreak. But first, our afternoon spotlight. I want to begin today with the ongoing crisis at the U.S. southern border, which continues to see massive surges in illegal migrant crossings, particularly as local authorities see their resources increasingly strained. To help plug the gaps, Republican governors across the country have been slowly stepping into the fray, offering their own state law enforcement forces to Texas and other border states to help reinforce barriers and aid in apprehensions. Tennessee Governor Bill Lee is the latest, announcing on Saturday plans to deploy 2 waves of National Guard troops to the Texas-Mexico border to fill the void left by the federal government's inaction. The first wave will consist of 50 National Guard members who will stay at the border through March. A second deployment will then replace them later in the spring. We should note, the assignment is a voluntary one. In a jab at the Biden administration, Governor Lee said that as the federal government, quote, fails to act on the border crisis, it is falling to state officials to step up and take meaningful action. Governor Lee highlighted the pressing threat posed by human trafficking and drug trafficking at unauthorized border crossings and said most Americans have come to realize that the situation at the border constitutes a, quote, true crisis for our country. Speaking to Tennessee National Guard members on Saturday, Governor Lee said, quote, as America faces the most severe border crisis in decades, Tennessee is showing the rest of the country what it means to lead. Now, Texas Governor Greg Abbott remains locked in a battle of wills with the Biden administration as the state pursues their own solutions to the migrant crisis in the absence of federal action. This has led to a back and forth in federal courts between Texas and the Biden administration. Republican governors have since rallied to Abbott's side. In February, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis announced he's sending as many as 1,000 Florida National Guard and State Guard members to Texas to assist with the unprecedented levels of migrant crossings. And most recently, as we covered on the PDB, Governor Kristi Noem of South Dakota announced she would deploy 60 South Dakota National Guard members to Texas beginning in the spring, and they'll stay on a rolling basis over a 3-month period. Noem had called the border a war zone and said her forces were an answer to Abbott's call to action. The fresh aid from other states comes as migrant crossings continue to surge. U.S. Customs and Border Protection sources told Fox News that just this weekend, between Friday and Saturday, agents apprehended more than 14,000 illegal migrants at unauthorized border crossings. Another 1,000 migrants were said to have escaped authorities during these encounters, disappearing into the U.S. U.S. Border Patrol agents recorded more than 300,000 illegal migrant encounters in December of 2023, and that marked an all-time record for encounters in a single month. And as we discussed earlier today on the PDB, a report has also recently emerged showing that by the end of September of this year, more than 8 million asylum seekers and other migrants will be living inside the U.S. in essentially legal limbo, a roughly 167% increase in just 5 years. Coming up after the break, we'll discuss Haiti's plunge into anarchy as armed gangs take over the streets, most recently freeing 4,000 inmates from the country's biggest prison in a bloody jailbreak. I'll be right back. Welcome back to the Afternoon Bulletin. I want to turn our attention now to a country that we don't discuss much on the program, or that, frankly, doesn't get much coverage anywhere, and that's Haiti, where the government has just declared a 72-hour state of emergency amidst a sharp spike in gang violence. Now, when I say gang violence, we're not just talking about street crimes or dance-offs between the Jets and the Sharks. We're talking about a situation that's grown so out of control that these groups now pose a serious threat to Haiti's national security. The most recent incident occurred this weekend when 2 prisons, including one in the capital of Port-au-Prince, were overrun by gang members after a days-long gun battle with police. At least 12 people were killed in the fighting, and nearly 4,000 inmates managed to escape. The jailbreak is just the latest sign of the deteriorating situation in Haiti. It follows a string of attacks orchestrated by gangs on Haitian government and police buildings, including one building that's roughly only 500 yards away from the U.S. Embassy. A lot of this unrest can be traced to a single man, one of Haiti's most influential gang leaders named Jimmy Cherizier. Now, he's nicknamed, oddly enough, Barbecue. Cherizier is a former Haitian national police officer who was dismissed from his job back in 2018. Since then, he's become a self-described revolutionary and has been running a federation of gangs in Port-au-Prince called the G9. The group has allegedly taken part in numerous massacres and other human rights abuses, including rape and kidnapping. Now, late last year, Cherizier, or Barbecue, called for an armed uprising against the sitting Haitian government run by acting President Ariel Henry. As of today, it's estimated that violent gangs control around 80% of the nation's capital. 80%. Haitian police are severely outgunned right now. There are over 200 gangs operating in the country and only 10,000 police officers to deal with them. The situation has grown so bad that the government has begun seeking outside assistance in order to maintain the peace. According to the United Nations, the Bahamas, Bangladesh, Barbados, Benin, and Chad have all signaled their intent to contribute personnel to an international force to help Haitian national police fight these armed gangs. This level of instability has already had a direct impact here in America. It's led to hundreds of thousands of Haitians seeking refuge in the U.S., and that number is bound to increase if the violence doesn't subside. This is a story we'll be keeping an eye on, and we'll keep you posted as the situation develops. And that, my friends, is the PDB Afternoon Bulletin for Monday, 4 March. If you have any questions or comments, please reach out to me at pdb@thefirsttv.com. I'm Mike Baker, and I'll be back tomorrow. Until then, stay informed, stay safe, stay cool.